Hi, I'm Doug Morrison from Malolo Consulting. I'm the director of DevSecOps consulting practice here, and I really appreciate your time and joining us at the Vivid Virtual Community Days. Today, I'm going to be talking about the Agile DevOps and testing tools. This is pre-recorded. I'll be monitoring the Q&A, so please feel free to pop some questions in there, and we'll get right into it. Okay, what I'm really not going to do today is read long slides. That's nothing anybody needs on a Friday afternoon. I'm sure you've already heard a lot this week about tools and various products and all the great things they can do for your organization. But I want to share a little bit of my 10 years of consulting experience with PPM, ALM, Octane, Fortify. And there seems to be some very common implementation challenges and how to overcome those and reap the benefits that these products share. In fact, even if you don't have these specific products, you may benefit from these best practices. They're just good things to do. Micro Focus customers do get a specific advantage in that these three solutions connect and can unlock bonus benefits. And I'm going to talk a little bit about today at the end. My team believes that the secret to deployment success is in designing systems that are flexible enough to support the variations across organizations, especially if they're large. Improving user adoption through value add and holistically managing all IT work, no matter what type or platform it's managed on. Most of our customers seem to be in some or multiple transitions from waterfall to agile, or from data centers to cloud, or from COTS to open source, and it's always taking longer than expected. And the fallacy is that it's a two, right? That the legacy will eventually be eliminated. We always recommend to our clients that they build systems and processes that are embrace this added complexity. All right, I'll start with PPM. It's been around the longest, and it is crucial for prioritizing and managing the entire portfolio of all IT work. Unlike some of the open source agile only tools, PPM can pull from multiple resources and forecast the aggregated picture. So in every deployment we've seen, users could definitely do better at improving adoption. Some things here that is all too common is that because the tool is so easy to configure, it's almost a given that it is over-configured. Too many fields on the forms prevent users from knowing what's important and what adds value to the organization and helps them. So not only is it ineffective, not only is it inefficient to have people enter more information for what if might be nice to report on, it prevents them from using the system because it becomes too burdensome. Oftentimes things are required that no longer make sense. The fields get added at the behest of someone that no longer even works at the organization. So we go in, oftentimes clean up the forms and limit it to only collecting the data that drives real business decisions. And same goes for workflow steps. Oftentimes people add workflow steps to track approvals every step of the way, or to use it as some sort of checklist. The reality is that workflow approval steps should really only be used to track handoffs between two different teams, or where sign-offs are required by regulatory governing bodies that are applicable. The other big user adoption thing is no user feedback. People just don't feel vested. The tool doesn't get used as a system of record. Too often the Microsoft Office products, Excel and PowerPoint become the project reporting tools, and then the information gets added to PPM after the fact as a record or repository. getting customers to use the tool, love the tool, buy into logging in every day is no different than any of the other products that I'm going to talk about today, or any other products that you have. Getting users' commitment and buy-in is just done through frequent touches, such as newsletters or communications about what's changed, what's new, doing regular lunch and learns for customers and internal users that use the product, so that they stay familiar with how to do it, have a forum for them, for the users to ask questions, and change advisory boards, finding key users for each of the types of people, different roles of users in PPM, and letting them provide feedback as to what's working, what doesn't, and to hear about new products and features that are coming in the roadmap, and get them excited about why you're going to upgrade and keep the products current. So, and the last one is juice isn't worth the squeeze. I see this too often, that the way the tool has been configured, the inherent value that it brings, the automation, the reporting, the dashboarding, all that sort of gets configured out of the tool, because unintentionally choices were made in the deployment that didn't understand the ramifications that would happen later in its life cycle. So not using the out-of-the-box fields, but rather using their own custom fields, for example, will hamper additional capabilities in the future from nicely integrating and providing value to users. Asking the users to do a lot of manual duplicate data entry doesn't provide them any value. So the key is to communicate and make sure that when you're designing, deploying the systems, that you're building in value, you're tracking what value it brings to each type of user, whether it be a project manager or a resource manager or a Scrum team leader, and highlighting those in your regular communications, and making sure that each type of user understands the value that it brings to them, to their role, the efficiencies that the tool can deliver. And if there aren't some, and oftentimes there's not, then you can communicate what value their efforts bring to the organization. So, for example, there's not a lot of value to the end user to report timesheets, but there is value to the organization to be able to understand what type of work is capitalized versus expense, and that helps the company manage its finances and budgets better, and can make better use of its capital. So if end users understand that, and that type of thing is tracked in your timesheets, well then the users will understand why they're doing timesheets. Successful DevOps transformations are never just a rip and replace, but extensive set of integrations. ALM Octane is a comprehensive solution for software development lifecycle management that accelerates quality software deployment at enterprise scale. Octane is core to our reference architecture recommendation because it's so flexible to be able to support most existing tools, point solutions, comprehensive capabilities, but any one of these functions can be replaced by a best-in-class category tool. So Octane also supports a variety of frameworks, methodologies, and maturity levels to aggregate work across the organization, providing that consolidated visibility that I mentioned earlier. That's really crucial for DevOps success. Testing centers of excellence, sort of focused, but also great for DevOps teams and product owners. If they already have existing open source tools, Octane becomes sort of a central repository for pulling various teams' information that falls into these different categories into one place to provide end-to-end traceability that a lot of regulated industries require. So this is, I look at it like a set of Legos that start with the quality and the testing aspects of it and then build out and grow from there. It comes with an extensive set of out-of-the-box integrations to connect to all the various components of the pipeline, but also has an open architecture to do extensive work synchronizations from various sources, whether it be defects or enhancements or projects or risks. It integrates with the various common IDEs, so it can push that work back to the developers directly in their IDE. So there is no slack or downtime waiting for that information to move from one silo to the next. This is sort of key for maintaining traceability, auditability that I mentioned earlier. Many of these open source tools don't have that. In fact, they don't have what's called immutable history. That's not really core to their design, so these open source tools don't really meet audit requirements for a lot of our large customers that have that requirement. Having a product like this that can consolidate the various teams of information, the silos of information at an enterprise scale is really crucial to being able to regain that visibility that the portfolio level, the PMO managers, the business need to operate the organizations. Okay, Fortify is so important. I think I would be negligent if I didn't mention it in a software development lifecycle discussion. For those of you not familiar with Fortify, which seems to be there's too many, Fortify is really three products. SCA, which is source code analyzer, manages the developer's programming code as they develop it and helps identify vulnerabilities and resolve them while the developer is still working on the code. Web Inspect is a dynamic application security testing tool that scans compiled code and helps quality teams identify vulnerabilities in their pre-production testing environment to generate defects automatically in Fortify and push those down to the developers to be resolved in an automated fashion. And the other one is Fortify App Defender, which monitors your production environments for vulnerabilities or malicious behaviors and can log those as well. So the three products provide a pretty comprehensive application security solution that can be integrated into the DevOps pipeline, connects real tightly with Octane, and because of that integrates nicely to the developers' IDEs to fix any code. Despite some real progress in this area, and we've sold a ton of it, it just doesn't seem anywhere near enough. The cyber attacks and our customers that have been impacted by them still outpace the rate at which customers adopt tools like these, which I'm not sure why. The number of headlines that we see are frightening. Companies like Uber and Equifax and Yahoo have just been decimated by cyber losses, and a lot of companies that have rather mature otherwise DevOps deployments and data security teams seem to still have a very disconnected sense of working their cyber teams working with their software development teams. So this really solves that problem. I'll say a couple common issues that all these products sort of suffer from is either too many false positives on the source code analyzer side, or too many missed vulnerabilities on the dynamic software scanning side. And by combining these two products together, you sort of mitigate both those problems in one foul swoop. So that's pretty fantastic. The other thing that we always recommend is the Fortify on demand option. That's basically the SaaS version of all three of these products, that also adds some managed services with it, so that there's human oversight into the results, and can provide a much more tailored and solution. Developers really like that a lot, and improves user adoption significantly. The fact that these products connect to the other two that I've already mentioned can provide real value to the organization. Really an end-to-end solution that checks a lot of boxes and meets a lot of audit requirements. Fortify is really a different type of work. It's risk mitigation, and this tool does an amazing job. But equally important is identifying that work and the effort that goes into it, making sure that it is at parity with enhancements and defects of the other things that quality team testing and performance testing have identified, and making sure that all those issues and all that work is prioritized accordingly, and that there's visibility to all those types of work, and that security risk mitigation efforts aren't sort of black boxed within an organization. We find that the business wants to invest in these things. They would like to see what percentage of the effort the testing teams and the development teams and the operations teams spend in doing risk mitigation. And too often, IT is seen as a cost center, because things like the software mitigation and software risk management processes that this tool tracks are invisible to the business, and they just see it as sunk cost. Today's DevOps and SecOps tool chains are fractured. Teams, tools, and data have become more specialized. This has caused the SDLC artifacts like defects to be siloed by tool or by team. The PMO, Project Management Office, Software Quality Assurance, and the Chief Information Security Officers professionals all have reporting responsibilities, but the metrics that they can produce are limited to the scope of the siloed data. Information like story point velocities and test case coverages or number of security scans are mostly irrelevant to the business, and don't really answer what they want to know. They want to see views on what the mix of enhancements, defects, tech projects, and security mitigations are. And the integrations necessary to accomplish that, to pull that data together, are traditionally expensive and fragile. So PPM, ALM Octane, Fortify all have built-in connectors to synchronize that data between those products. But that's only a good starting place. To really do reporting, automation, and SDLC artifact deduplication, not have to enter the data twice in multiple systems or multiple times, that's a good part to start. Most customers, most of you, I would suspect, don't have these three products, at least not all of them, not yet. And you probably have a bunch of other third-party tools that play a big part of your software development lifecycle. So these more complicated integration solutions really require a integration hub and spoke model. Micro Focus Connect is a new hub integration product that offers out-of-the-box bidirectional synchronization between a lot of the popular DevOps products like Jira, Azure DevOps, ServiceNow, and more. Micro Focus Connect is also free if you're using it to sync to one of the Micro Focus products. So that's an awesome win and a great way to get started with this. To put it in perspective, an example, imagine if your defects are logged in ServiceNow self-service portal and automatically get synchronized with ALM Octane and the developer's IDE, whether it be Eclipse or Visual Studios, and to PPM. So then all the teams can see the current status of that defect, know what's been done to date and what needs, what the current status is. The quality team would know the moment that that development is complete and that it was ready for test. And the PPM folks could see the actual mix of all the enhancements, defects, tech projects, and security work that's been completed. So that's a hub and spoke model to synchronize like a single artifact across multiple destinations and allow those artifacts to flow between various products and provide that level of visibility that the business really wants to see. We build DevSecOps architecture maps and help customers fill those functionality gaps and map the flow of the SDLC work across their organization. Oftentimes it's so siloed that only people are aware of their particular part and the upstream and the downstream handoffs and not the big picture. One of the most important functions is that interconnectivity, piecing it all together, the data into one single repository to provide reporting in terms that the business understands and wants, to be able to demonstrate real business value and change that perception of IT from cost center to growth engine is significant. Well, that was my last slide, and I hope you found some interesting bits in this overview of PPM, ALM Octane, and Fortify application security, how they can connect to provide even more benefits and less headaches. We at Melillo love working on these types of problems with customers. In addition to being a Micro Focus ADM, ITOM, and security platinum partner, we are also a reseller of Microsoft Azure DevOps, desktop integration tools, and ServiceNow. So if you ever need any of those types of services, I'll put my contact information at the end of this deck. Please feel free to reach out to me anytime. We'd love to hear from you and talk, even if it's just to discuss these things in more depth. I am going to stick around here for a while and answer any questions that are in the chat, the live chat. And in a few minutes, please join us over in the expert panel discussion for the last session of this week's VCD. And hope you've gotten a lot of benefit and value from it. I know I have, and I think you'll enjoy the experts panel session. So please be sure to join me over there. Thank you again for your time today and this week. I hope you found it all very informative. Have a great weekend and stay safe. Thank you.